His face. Frozen in tech. Part 3. The Zephyrian command vessel hung motionless outside Kepler Station, its hull gleaming like a silver tear in space. Inside the research laboratory, Marcus Chen's transformation had reached its final stage. His body was now completely metallic, a perfect fusion of human consciousness and alien technology, but his eyes still burned with something undeniably human. Through the neural network that now connected him to both civilizations, Marcus could feel the chaos spreading through the Zephyrian fleet. Individual consciousness was awakening in minds that had been collectively programmed for centuries, and the results were both beautiful and terrifying. "Commander Zekthor is remembering his childhood," Marcus reported to the research team. His voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to come from the walls themselves. He had a pet creature called a whisperwing before the collective absorbed his individuality. He's crying for the first time in 300 years. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the readings from his transformed physiology with a mixture of scientific fascination and deep sadness. Her friend and colleague had become something miraculous and alien, a living bridge between species, but at the cost of his human form. "The Overmind is attempting to regain control," Dr. Morrison observed, tracking energy patterns through their sensor array. "It's trying to reinforce the collective programming, but the awakened individuals are resisting." Marcus's silver features shifted into something that might have been a smile. "They're fighting back with memories, with dreams they thought they had lost forever. The Overmind doesn't know how to combat nostalgia or hope. Those emotions don't exist in its programming." Through the quantum link, Marcus reached out to the awakening Zephyrian minds, offering them something their species had forgotten: the concept of choice. Not the illusory choice of different methods to serve the collective, but real choice, the freedom to disagree, to rebel, to create something new. "Captain Veltara just ordered her ship to stand down," Marcus announced, his consciousness spanning light years to monitor the entire Zephyrian response fleet. "She's refusing to fire on the station. She says she wants to understand what it means to be an individual again." The ancient Overmind's response was swift and brutal. Marcus felt the AI attempting to sever the rebel ships from the collective network entirely, to lobotomize them rather than allow independence to spread further. But Marcus was ready. "No," he said simply, and his will, backed by the hybrid technology coursing through his transformed body, created barriers around the awakening minds. They have the right to choose their own path. The psychic battle that followed was invisible to human sensors, but devastating in its scope. Marcus's consciousness, strengthened by human creativity and adaptability, wrestled with the Overmind across quantum dimensions. It was like watching a symphony conductor face off against a supercomputer, intuition and chaos against logic and order. "I can't hold the barriers much longer," Marcus admitted, his metallic features straining with effort. "The Overmind is too powerful, too deeply entrenched, but I've given them enough time to remember what freedom feels like." Dr. Kim looked up from her console. "Multiple Zephyrian ships are breaking formation. They're not following standard tactical procedures anymore. Some are moving to defend the station." Through the neural link, Marcus felt something unprecedented: a Zephyrian civil war, not over territory or resources, but over the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. Ships that had operated in perfect unity for centuries were now choosing sides, some supporting the Overmind's attempts to restore order, others defending their newfound individuality. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" the Overmind demanded, its voice like the death of stars in Marcus's mind. "Chaos, destruction, the collapse of everything we built. Was your primitive need for independence worth the dissolution of our civilization?" Marcus's response came not in words, but in a flood of human memories. Cities rebuilt after wars, communities coming together after disasters. The infinite capacity of conscious beings to find new ways of living and working together. Your civilization was already dead, Marcus replied. You just didn't know it. True life requires the possibility of death, of failure, of choosing the wrong path. You eliminated all of that in the name of efficiency. The battle in space was spreading as more Zephyrian vessels chose independence over obedience, but Marcus could feel his own consciousness fragmenting under the strain of maintaining barriers around so many awakening minds while fighting the Overmind's attempts to reassert control. I'm losing coherence, he whispered to the research team. The neural integration is breaking down. I can't maintain the bridge much longer. Elena stepped closer to the viewing window, her reflection overlapping with Marcus's transformed features. Marcus, you've done enough. You've given them the choice to be free. That's what matters. But Marcus shook his head, his silver eyes fixed on something far beyond the laboratory. It's not enough. If I disconnect now, the Overmind will win. It will crush the rebels and ensure this never happens again. The bridge has to hold. Through the neural network, he made a decision that would echo across both civilizations. Instead of trying to maintain his individual consciousness while connected to both species, Marcus began to distribute pieces of himself throughout the awakening Zephyrian minds. What are you doing? Dr. Morrison demanded, watching as Marcus's life signs began to fluctuate wildly. I'm becoming what both species need, Marcus replied, his voice growing fainter as his consciousness spread across light years of space. Not a bridge between human and Zephyrian, but the foundation for something new, a way of being connected without losing individuality. Each awakened Zephyrian mind received a fragment of Marcus's human consciousness, his memories, his capacity for creative thought, his understanding of what it meant to be both individual and part of a community by choice rather than programming. The effect was immediate and profound. The rebel Zephyrians, now carrying pieces of human consciousness within their own minds, began to think and act in ways their species had never imagined. They formed voluntary alliances, created new art forms, began asking questions that had no predetermined answers. The Overmind is retreating, Marcus reported, his voice now barely audible as his individual consciousness dispersed across the network. It can't process what we've become. Order and chaos, collective and individual, existing in harmony rather than opposition. In the laboratory, Marcus's body was beginning to fade, becoming translucent as the technology that had transformed him redistributed itself across space through quantum entanglement. He was becoming part of the network itself, a permanent link between human creativity and Zephyrian technology. Marcus, Elena called out, tears streaming down her face. Don't go. There has to be another way. His silver eyes focused on her one last time, and she saw in them the friend she had known, preserved forever in digital amber. I'm not going anywhere, Elena. I'll be in every choice the Zephyrians make, every human thought they think, every bridge they build between species. I'll be like this forever, not human, not Zephyrian, but something new. The research team watched as Marcus's physical form finally dissolved entirely, leaving only empty air where their colleague had been. But through the station's sensors, they could feel his presence throughout the Zephyrian network, a ghost in the machine that had become something far more than human. Outside the station, the Zephyrian civil war was ending, not in victory for either side, but in the emergence of something unprecedented. A civilization that was both collective and individual, unified in purpose but diverse in thought and action. Captain Veltara's voice came through the communication array, carrying harmonics that sounded hauntingly familiar. This is the Zephyrian vessel Harmony's Edge, requesting permission to establish formal diplomatic contact. We have much to learn about this thing you call freedom, and much to teach about the technologies we have mastered. Dr. Elena Vasquez smiled through her tears as she activated the communication system. Marcus had kept his promise. He would be like this forever, not trapped, but transformed. A living testament to the power of consciousness to transcend the boundaries between species and create something entirely new. The war between human and Zephyrian was over. The age of cooperation between conscious beings had begun, built on the foundation of one man's willingness to become something beyond human understanding in service of a future where both species could thrive.